Hi and welcome to Movies Suck. Today we're going to review Terminator Dark Fate. Been looking forward to this one actually. I wasn't looking forward to it until I saw the trailer for Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, and that then made this seem a whole lot more interesting. So I thought, what the hell, I will go and see it. It is a testament to how good the original Terminator and Terminator 2 are, that the memory of those great films is enough to bring me out into a cold, wet, rainy English night. And unfortunately, some of the rumours about this movie are exactly as we have expected for some time. And they happen in just the way we expected them to happen as well. Unfortunately, that means everything you've heard about this movie is basically true. Everything. Especially the really bad things. That's as far as I'm going to go with that, so I'm sure you can all infer what I'm talking about. And most of the rest of the film has been seen in the trailers, so there are very few surprises to be found here. But one of the surprises that remains is just how good Arnie is in the role that made him a household name. He still personifies a Cyberdyne Systems Model 101 Terminator that we have seen so many times before, and without which the Terminator movies just wouldn't feel complete. This time, he's named himself Carl, and he has his own draperies business, or curtains if you're watching this in Blighty. He's also obtained a surrogate wife and son whom he cares for deeply, but wishes that he could love, but it is a thing he can never do. Arnie may be getting old, and in some scenes you can see that, but he still looks the part, and he carries himself with a surety and conviction that tells you this Terminator's still got plenty of miles left on the clock. He's also very funny, and you don't have to take my word for that. I got it straight from the horse's mouth. Next, we have the long-awaited return of Linda Hamilton, who has been away from the Terminator movies ever since they didn't give her a good part in Terminator 3. And we're even going to kill her off halfway through that movie, can you believe it? Rather than before it took place, which is eventually what happened. They killed her off before the movie started. Still can't believe they did that. And she returns as Sarah Connor, who else? And pretty much continues where she left off by being the tough, prepared superwoman that made her one of the greatest female characters ever to grace a cinema screen. She does great in this movie, at least as well as the somewhat clunky script allows anyway, which sees her go from the hard-as-nails heroine we always loved in the second movie, as she turns up in the nick of time to give the Rev 9 Terminator the beatdown it deserved, and then she becomes just another character in the mix once everyone gets together. Then her importance to the story becomes less certain with the addition of Arnie. Nevertheless, she is a welcome addition to the cast. And then we have to talk about Mackenzie Davis, who, it has to be said, is very good in this movie. She really does give it her all in the character of Grace, the super soldier cyborg sent from the future to protect the most non-entity character that Terminator has ever fielded, Natalie Reyes. Mackenzie does a great job in her role as Protector, but unfortunately she just can't live up to the legacy of Arnie and Linda. She just doesn't quite have the grit or physicality to pull off the role. I know most people are going to point out how androgynous she looks in this movie, and how she looks mannish enough for the job, but that is part of the problem. She doesn't have the slow inevitability of Arnie as the T-800, nor does she have the pure guts and willpower mixed with the vulnerability that Linda had as Sarah Connor. And there were aspects of her cyborgism that just didn't make any sense, like her ability to take on the Rev 9 for short periods of time as more than equal, by which I mean that she seemed to be physically stronger even than the combined Rev 9 when it's got its mimetic polyalloy and the endoskeleton together. That is just wrong. And then she still claims to be human when, for that to be possible, the only part of her that could have been human would have been her brain, as her physical body would not be up to the job of taking on the Rev 9. Well, shouldn't be. I mean, maybe she's like an early version of Marcus from Terminator Salvation, and all of her insides have been replaced with a metal body, basically. Just a bit of a brain and a heart and things are still human. And then we come to Natalie Reyes, possibly the worst bit of casting and plotting that has taken place in cinema history. Okay, that might be going a bit too far, but she really is just that pointless and superfluous to the movie. If you swapped her back for the character that should have been in her place, that is, if the people making this movie didn't have a very modern Hollywood agenda, nudge nudge, wink wink, you know what I'm talking about, third wave feminism, it would have helped this film gain back its continuity with the original two movies, were that character been replaced with the one it was supposed to be. Natalie may be nice to look at, but that's about all her character has going for it. I mean, I think she must have been a very late arrival to the script after the producers decided they had a bandwagon and they just had to jump on it. And last but not least, since we've already talked about Natalie Reyes, we come to the Rev 9, played by Gabriel Luna, who has possibly the hardest job in the whole movie, and that is to attempt to look formidable and intimidating, a job which is clearly beyond him within the context of this movie. Compared with the presence of Arnie, he just looks like a little guy. And the crazy thing is that I looked up his height, and it turns out he's 6 foot tall, which means he's actually a fairly big guy. But the way they filmed the movie, and thanks to the fact he has possibly less muscle mass than Mackenzie Davis, he just seems small and undaunting, which is not good for a Terminator. He doesn't have the intimidating presence of Robert Patrick, who is actually a little bit shorter, and he doesn't have the stature of Arnie, so he's just left being, well, the Pee Wee Herman of the Terminator world. I had to say it. I liked his personality though, and I'm sure he is great as other more normal characters. Returning to the subject of the Rev 9, I have to say that I was not impressed with this antagonist, which is kind of a combination T800, T1000, TX, and pretty much seems to be the worst of the lot. They took all the bad bits of those and put them into one awful Terminator. He doesn't have the weight, strength, and immovability of the T800, or the T850 if you're thinking Terminator 3, and nor does it have the strength and malleability of the T1000. Remember T1000 turned into the floor at one point? Pretty damn awesome. And Kristanna Loken, she looked a hell of a lot more intimidating and dangerous, and yet we're supposed to be worried about the Rev 9, a machine that at first got beaten down by a human woman, then got beaten down by a cyborg, couldn't possibly be even half as strong, and then got beaten down quite often by Arnie as Carl, the T800, or Cyberdyne Systems Model 101. At no time did it feel like the Rev 9 was a real threat, except to the plot writer, who probably envisioned a cross between Arnie and Robert Patrick when he wrote the character. And there is even a scene where the Rev 9 endoskeleton is being beaten up by Natalie Reyes on her own, and that drags you straight out of the film as you find yourself saying, wait, what? This little girl is beating up this metal skeleton thing? Incidentally, I don't think that that is a metal skeleton. In my personal opinion, due to the strength and weight and everything and the malleability of that Terminator, I think that that's some sort of carbon fiber or something. I don't see that being metal. It just seemed too light and weak and things. I think he only reaches Terminator strength when they're combined together. In fact, the thing I most took away from this film, other than a sense of annoyance at the destruction of what could have been a very interesting step forward into the future war with Skynet, is that this movie was utterly pointless. Because it's already been done before, and done much better in both Terminator 1984 and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So much of this movie is just either direct or indirect rip-offs of those movies. In fact, it becomes so derivative that I had no issues with working out almost exactly what was going to happen next. And I am not even going to touch on the politics expressed within this movie, but I will say they are all going one way, the Hollywood way. So, the question is, should you watch this movie? And I would say this. If you grew up watching the most recent Terminator films, then this is just more of the same, and probably won't disappoint you. If you grew up with the original Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, then you're going to want to save your money and do something more worthwhile, like staring directly into the sun, which will certainly do less damage to your eyes than this movie damages the franchise. And if you're a drooling vegetable with the IQ of a glass of water, then this is the movie for you. Enjoy! You know, sometimes venturing out into the great British outdoors just isn't worth it, especially when it's raining. This is Movie Cirque signing out. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you on the flip side.